Hey everybody, it's Lyn from Lyn's Crafts. I got asked to do a tutorial on the moon locket. So that's what I'm here to do. Now the locket itself doesn't really latch, although I'm sure it could be made to. So, alright. I started with, this is my moon mold, and it's from my own sculpture of the moon face. Now, as you can tell, there's no extra detail. It's just the face, so you can add any of that you want. So I'm just going to take some black clay. I've already conditioned it, mostly. And I'm going to put some Pearlix powder in my mold. Without spilling it, hopefully. And that's just for a release agent. You can use lots of different things. Cornstarch. I've heard people use baby powder. A spritz of water. Lots of different things. I've got a little too much clay there to work with. That's a little better. Now I use regular Sculpey to make my molds, which makes a rigid mold. So I'm just going to fill up my mold like that. Grab one of my baking mirrors. Squish it down to it. Any excess clay that you have will squish out, and you can trim it off afterwards. Alright, slowly pull the mold away. And always have your tools ready, which I never do. And I never can find the one I'm looking for. And all it is a knitting needle, a metal knitting needle. Now, as you can tell, maybe, right here in his eye and along the side of his nose is a crack where my mold had cracked, which I repaired it. No big deal. It's just a flaw I have to fix every time because I'm too lazy to make another mold. Okay, I'm too stubborn to make another mold, is the truth of it. Alright, so we just fix that up. Now, just with my X-Acto, I'm going to trim up the edges where the extra squished out. And you want to save that extra. Sorry for the bit of concentration for a second. Alright. There we go. Alright, now's the time if you want to add some details. To do it. Alright. So I usually add him a crater right in the middle of his forehead. With a few radiating lines out from it. Something like that. Then you can add, let's use the spiral texture sheet. I never use that. If you watch me for very long, you'll know that's not true. It just gives a little hint of some extra texture. Sorry. I'm bad about trying to look beside the camera to see myself. Not to see myself, but, you know, to see for myself. Okay, now, I'm going to bake this. But, before I do, it just so happens when I made this moon mold that I happened to make him the size of the size of my cutter. So I'm going to roll out another sheet of clay, and on my pasta machine, on the thickest setting, which for me is a 1, I'm going to roll out a sheet of clay. Alright. Cut out a circle. And then I'm going to take the next smaller size of my cutters. And these cutters come from the Walnut Hollow set that has the alphabet stamps and etc. in it. Try to get it centered. Okay, now, hey, now I'm gonna lift the moon off of my towel for a second. I'm going to put that little ring on the back. And try to make sure that it's lined up good. And it is. I'm just going to give it a little gentle pressure to stick it down. And of course when you turn it over, you're going to see all the places where it doesn't line up. Alright, there we go. Now I'm going to bake it. But heck, before I bake it, why not? I'm going to roll out another sheet of clay. I'm going to roll out a sheet of clay again. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm so close today. My Gripster tripod is giving me trouble. I must have relatively dry humidity today. Because nothing wants to stick. So I'm going to cut out one. And I'm going to cut out two. One of these I'm going to cut the center out of, just like I did before. Okay. Alright, and now this sheet, kind of give it just a little bit of texture. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it out again because that'll smash it out just a tiny bit. And again, place your circle on there. Okay. Alright. Grab another baking towel. Now, you want to bake it the ring side down because you will get a shiny spot where the clay touches where the clay touches the tile. But I want them to be flat. So that's why I'm going to bake them on the tile. Okay? So I'm going to bake these and I will be back this time. Alright, I'm going to bake that for 30 minutes at 275, which is actually like 235 on my oven. It's so off. If you're new to polymer clay, you can go back. I've got videos that not only show my oven setup, but conditioning clay and stuff like that. So you can always go check those out. I'm going to cut out some stars. So why don't we use this little scrap. Find my little star cutter. Okay. And a lot of times your shape will get stuck inside the cutter. I've got the paintbrush end of my clay shaper. To push it out with. That keeps it from being distorted too much. Let's roll this out and punch out a couple of more stars. Alright. Now you may ask yourself why I'm cutting so many out, but to make these beads, you need two. You need 2 stars. Now I'm going to grab some head pins. And I'm gonna take the star, and there's a right side and a wrong side, really and truly. There's the rounded edged top side is actually where I'm gonna place my head pin, because the paintbrush does distort it just the least little bit. Nothing like nothing like another tool would. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is move my mess. I'm going to take it and I'm going to smush it just barely between my texture sheet. And give it a little texture. Now, you can bake them on the head pin, or you can take them off. That's up to you. These tiny stars are rather difficult to hold on to sometimes. Okay. And one more. Okay, 3 little textured stars. And again, I'll bake that. And then while we're at it, we're going to just cut us a little bit. We're going to roll it out. Not too thin. Just about like that. And I'm going to cut it in half, or thereabouts. Oh, goodness. I'm actually going to roll it out a little bit thinner. And do that again. This time, I'm really going to cut it in half. Okay. Each of these halves now, we're going to ream a hole through the middle. And I've got my favorite hat pin, corsage pin, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to ream a hole through the middle of it. And the best way to do that is to twist it while you're twisting it. Twist the clay while you're twisting the pin, and that'll help you see whether it's going straight through there or not. It's very hard to show. Try going really slow. But as you can see, you'd be able to tell whether your hat pin was out of kilter. The polymer clay terminology you learn on this channel. Alright, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to bake them. And then I'll attach them to the moon with polymer clay. Liquid polymer clay. Whatever I'm trying to say. Alright. So I'm going to bake these components, and I'll be back. Alright, now I've just got a foam sanding block, kind of like you get at the hardware store to sand drywall. And I'm just trying to even up the edges a little bit. Alright. Wipe the dust off of it. Now, you're going to take your little tubes and decide where you want it to open at. And what you're going to do, get on frame, is you're going to adhere it. Sorry about that. You're going to adhere it where it hangs off the edge. Something like that. Alright. Now, really and truly, I would prefer to use something like the Bacon Bond, but I don't happen to have any. And the Bacon Bond is more like a super glue for polymer clay. In other words, it has an instant hold. So this I'm going to have to prop up in the oven and get it to stick. Alright, but that's about what we want. And then on the bottom piece, we're going to find what I did with it. There it is. We're going to align it where it's off center with the other piece. See if I can describe that to you a little better. Something like that. Like that. Alright, where one is on one piece and one is on the other one. And then we're going to bake that again. Alright, so I'll be back. Alright. As you can see, I've taken my pieces that I baked and disregarded them. I've taken raw tubes and poked a hole through them, same thing, and then attached them with the liquid Sculpey. And what I've done is I've attached them like that, where there'll be one next to each other, even though one is on the front and one is on the back. Alright, and then again I'm going to do the same thing with the stars. The two stars will go on the other edge like that. Okay? Alright, I'll be back. Okay. Well, excuse my mess that I've got out here. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, since this is still a little warm, and I don't want to be tweaking on it while it's warm, is I'm going to rub a little InterGold on it. Which is probably a little easier to do before you connect it together. Yes, little doggy, I know you hear me talking. But you're a big boy and you can handle it. Okay. Alright. So sorry if it's not my battery, it's my memory card. Alright. Alright. Just a little color. Okay, this is probably the most difficult part. Okay, this is the most difficult part. to get it right. Alright. I know I keep saying that. Gonna take and twist a loop on the end of my head pin. And that's going to be to hang my charms from. And then I'm going to clip off the head. Off of this head. Alright. And then I'm going to put it through the bottom piece. And they're not going to line up. So what's going to happen is you're going to kind of bend it. That's all I can tell you. Okay. Feed it back on there. Alright. You can see the little bend. And then we'll take the top and wind it down into a spiral. This is a tough head pin. Man! Alright. Now there we go. Got a loop on one end and a spiral just for decoration on the other. The loop alright. This one actually latches because I turned the stars just a little bit so that they caught each other on the points. Okay, and all you do is hang your chain, hang your little star charms, check glass beads, whatever, There it is. A little rhinestone in his crater up here. And whatever else you'd like to do to him. So, there you go. Lockets. Super fun. I could keep going and make a bunch. And probably will. So, that's it for today. I shall holler at y'all later. Bye now.